Now, your Storm Track forecast first, sponsored by Kansas 811.
Still hanging on to mostly cloudy skies throughout the evening, and some spotty showers that we saw earlier throughout today are starting to clear up. Still seeing some spotty showers in the far western portions of the viewing area. We're watching a line of storms that is now developing. It'll try to make its way into the viewing area later on into tonight. Tonight will cool down into the upper 60s before tomorrow rebounding into the lower 70s. I'll time out those storms for you here coming up.
Now on 27 News.
Good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm David George.
And I'm Mackenzie Davis. A man is in custody for his alleged connection to the city's latest homicide. A 5-year-old girl was killed last night. Officers responded to the Dillon's gas station at 29th in California. Topeka police have identified the victim as 5-year-old Zoe Felix of Topeka. They performed life-saving measures on her before she was taken to the hospital, where she later died.
27 News reporter Caroline Soro joins us live from the scene in southeast Topeka with more. Caroline?
Police Chief Brian Willis said Topeka police have been investigating the incident since it occurred, which was around 6 last night. The investigation has led them to look into multiple scenes in the surrounding area, including the one right here behind the Dillons. There appears to be a tent or what looks like a homeless camp tucked behind the trees inside the scene. Jail logs indicate the man in custody, 25-year-old Michael Cherry, is homeless and that he knew the victim. Cherry was arrested on first-degree murder and rape charges early this morning. Willis says many investigative details are still being worked through, but that everyone feels the sadness and questioning as to why this occurred.
We're working hard in the streets every day and every night to continue to make this a safe city, and these things shock us all. We're human beings, we're people, and they have a deep impact on us. We're all sad today. Is just the easy way to say it, but I'm also very proud of the work that we do here at the police department.
He says no one wants these things to happen, but when they do, a quick resolution with an arrest is a best-case scenario. This marks the 26th homicide in Topeka this year, and we'll have more from Chief Willis about the broader scope of crime in Topeka on 27 News at 6. Working for you live in Southeast Topeka, I'm Caroline Soro, 27 News.
And as Caroline mentioned, this most recent killing is the 26th homicide case for Topeka just this year. And we're working for you, tracking all that have happened in the capital city this year. You can find the full list on our homicide tracker at ksnt.com.
Tonight, the Shawnee County Sheriff's Office is investigating a potential gun threat made at Washburn Rural High School today. 27
News reporter Gabriel Johnson is live in Shawnee County, where he spoke with the district about how they're handling it. So, Gabe, what do we know so far?
Well, guys, a screenshot from a social media message last night has been circulating the district regarding a threat at the school. This caused fear and concern for many in the district. District officials say it's working with local law enforcement as they try to get to the bottom of the situation. The district has since communicated multiple times with parents and others about the safety of students. They say this is the top of mind.
Student safety and staff safety is always the priority, and it's important that we all work together to ensure that we keep that as the premium. We want to do everything we can to keep information out in front of our families so they remain informed.
Now, the district says based on the information law enforcement gathered, they do not believe there is an immediate threat to students or staff. Now, the district also says they will have additional law enforcement present tomorrow. They ask that anybody, if they see or hear anything suspicious, that they report it immediately. Working for you live in Shawnee County, Gabriel Johnson, 27 News.
We'll still hang on to summer-like temperatures throughout the day, so you have to wait a little bit longer until we see fall, but it's right around the corner, though. Current temperatures right now still sitting in the 80s right now. Keep in mind, our average high during this time of year is at 75 degrees, but right now still sitting at 84 in Topeka, 83 in Lawrence, down to the 70s in Burlington, 82 in Emporia, still 87 in Manhattan, 84 in Clay Center, but still hanging on to mostly cloudy skies. Some cloud cover starting to lighten up a little bit, and the showers that we saw earlier today also starting to dry out a bit. But what we're seeing here, like I mentioned, showers starting to dry out a bit. What we're watching, it's this line of storms that's moving into the western portions of Kansas right now, really just northwest of Hays. This line of storms, what's going to happen here is going to try to make its way into the viewing area later on throughout this evening and into tonight. So here's Tonight at 6:15, storms start to move into Cloud and Republic counties, still moving farther and farther east. The best chance for rain looks to be the western parts of the viewing area here, as the eastern portions are not quite as favorable for storms. Looks like I-70 north about 11 o'clock to midnight tonight before they start to even weaken further. Still could see a spotty shower throughout the overnight hours tonight. But like I mentioned, there is a cool down on the way. How much we cool down? I'll bet here coming up.
The future of Kansas's economy is bright. That's according to state officials. Economic leaders spoke about economic gains and shortfalls during a conference in Topeka today. And the state budget director says that Kansas has recovered more than 100% of the jobs lost during the pandemic. And the state lost about 158,000 jobs at the time. But officials say the state has recovered those jobs plus added 14,000. On top of that, the state's employment rate has hit a record low, now sitting at 2.7%. The budget director says with more job openings, it's becoming a seeker's market.
There are more job openings than job seekers, which means that the job seekers have a little bit more choice, and they're able to pick the job that they need, which also helps with their wages. They can demand a little bit higher wage. You can think of it two ways. For every person looking for employment, there could be 2 jobs available to them, or for every job posting, there's about a half of a person available to fill that job that's in the labor market.
The director also says the state will need to continue to build the workforce and maintain a balanced budget in the upcoming years to stay on track. Total tax collections for last month were above initial estimates. The state collected more than $991 million.
The job market held up in late summer. There were more job openings than expected on the last day of August at 9.6 million. The Labor Department's job openings and labor turnover survey says the number of hires and total separations were little changed. Hires came in at 5.9 million and separations at 5.7 million. The number of those quitting and laid off showed little change as well. Over the month, job openings increased in professional and business services, as well as finance and insurance, state and local government, education, and federal government.
Hunter Biden pleaded not guilty to all 3 gun charges against him. He's facing felony gun charges involving his purchase and ownership of a gun back in 2018. Hunter Biden is accused of lying about his drug use when purchasing the firearm. And over the summer, federal prosecutors tried to work out a plea deal regarding the gun charges along with other misdemeanor tax charges, but that deal fell through. Also, he was drug tested as a part of his probation and the results were negative. The Raleigh County Police Department is holding its community night in Manhattan this evening.
That's where we find 27 News Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Matt Miller. Matt, what's happening there in the Little Apple tonight?
Well, you know, already starting to get people trickling in. There's a lot of organizations. It's not just the Riley County Police Department. They're kind of the hosting organization for this, but it's an opportunity for you and your family, if you're here in Riley County, to come on out and get to know some of the first responders in the area. Free food going on behind me, so that's always an important part. They've got barbecue going, and they'll feed you for this evening, so you can come out and enjoy that, get to know some of the police officers as well as some of the others. You look across, we've got a lot of people who are represented. We've got Riley County Police. We also have Riley County EMS, Riley County Emergency Management, the Military Police, Manhattan Fire. So a lot of different groups of first responders that are all represented here and more. So you can bring the kids out, let them get a chance to see inside the armored vehicles, inside the fire truck, get a chance to meet some of the police dogs as well. And of course, for anybody of any age, it's just good to be connected with the people who are working to keep your community safe. So again, this goes on until 8 o'clock. Where is it? All right, so we're in City Park, in the northeast corner of the park at the Weefald Pavilion. Can't miss it. Just off of 11th and Points, just a little bit north from there. So just come on out here to City Park. You know where it is. If you're in Manhattan, can't miss it. And of course, this goes on until 8 o'clock, and we are certainly hoping the weather holds off long enough to get the entire event out here. Come out, grab your dinner. Come out and say hi to me as well. Reporting live in Manhattan, I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Miller.
Well, I hope he stays dry.
I hope so.
Yeah, and he's going to have to answer a lot of questions about Lola because everybody wants to know where she is.
Yes, they do. She's at home, by the way. Doesn't like to work.
According to the U.S. Treasury, climate change could impose substantial costs on U.S. household finances. Coming up, the warning about economic hardship due to severe weather events.
Plus, every year, taxpayers in each state are asked to pay more to improve K-12 education. But does more money equal a better education? Coming up, why experts say more isn't always better.
Well, today was certainly a breezy one as we saw winds out of the south from 15 to 25 miles per hour. But as we head on throughout the evening, those winds will start to shift towards the west, and then by tomorrow we'll see that northerly breeze, which will cool us down. How much we cool down tomorrow? Take a look at that here coming up.
Welcome back for a 27 News Late Day discussion with Kansas Attorney General Chris Kobach. Thanks for taking time to join us.
My pleasure.
Well, I understand that you're getting ready to sue the Biden administration in the coming days. This is going to be over the lesser prairie chickens listed as an endangered species. So exactly when do you think that's going to happen, and then what's the purpose behind it?
It'll be in the next couple of days, and it's not just Kansas, it's Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas. And the Biden administration's Fish and Wildlife Service has listed it as a threatened or endangered species, depending on the zone. And it's really not about the prairie chicken the way we see it, because the population numbers have been going like this up and down for the last 20 years. And it's on a down cycle right now because of the drought. No other reason than that. As soon as the rains came back after the 2012 drought, the numbers almost doubled. But anyway, the effect of this listing would be to basically prohibit any new oil wells in western Kansas, and even worse, all people who ranch cattle, who have pastures and have cattle grazing, they would have to get approval from a federally designated agency to graze their cattle. And they wouldn't be able to, if they wanted to change where they're going to graze the cattle, they'd have to get Mother May I special permission from the government to do that. It's a huge imposition on the property rights of Kansas ranchers. So, we think that this is more an attack on oil and an attack on beef production, which has become politically incorrect these days in Washington, than it is a real effort to affect the population of the prairie chicken.
All right, let me get your take on this now. Former President Donald Trump, he pled not guilty, 34 felony charges of falsifying business records. As an attorney, I want to get your take now on the professional relationship with the former president, too.
Well, I would just say on the charges, the charges specify, the charging document specifies a misdemeanor, which is a business records misdemeanor, and doesn't specify the other misdemeanor, which they're supposed to add together to create this felony. I think it's really flimsy, and I'd be surprised if this thing ever gets to a jury. I think it's going to hopefully, probably be dismissed on a motion to dismiss or some other preliminary motion. So I think the president's probably got the edge in this case. But I think it's kind of sad for the country, though. This groundbreaking first ever indictment of a president is over a very flimsy misdemeanor like that, which will probably collapse on scrutiny. If you're going to do this, you ought to have something really airtight and really serious to take this kind of action against a former president.
Do you see it slowing down his run for president in 2024 at all?
I don't think so. I mean, we've already seen it's improved his chances in the Republican primary, and I don't think it changes anything in the general, because attitudes about former President Trump are pretty solid. People either really like him or they really don't like him. So I don't think it changes much.
Okay, we've got about 20 or 30 seconds left, but right before coming on the show, you released a statement about Fairness in Women's Sports Act, and Governor Kelly, she vetoed, and then lawmakers overrode that. So how important is this situation to you personally?
This is very important to me. I'm the father of 5 girls, and all of my girls participate in sports. And this is about protecting girls' sports and keeping it fair so that biological males don't come in and steal all the trophies, steal all the scholarships. And it's all, anybody, I think any reasonable person would say, this is girls' sports, only girls can compete. If you have the advantages of being born a male, you either compete in boys' sports or you compete in something else, but don't make girls' sports unfair. And if this comes to defending it in court, I'm very confident that we will be able to defend this law against any challenge.
All right. Kansas Attorney General Chris Kobach, thank you again.
My pleasure.
Welcome back to Fox 43 News. I'm Jacob Kaufman. The work of a local artist has found its way back to the Topeka's Lulac Center, but the story behind this piece goes far beyond the frame it's placed in. Fox 43 News reporter Caroline Soro tells us why this is important.
Well, this is a piece of a mural that's painted in the basement of Our Lady of Guadalupe, which is right down the road. The owner of the Brass Rail Tavern here came across the piece by chance and recently gifted it to the senior center right next door. When he realized how much history was behind the work, he knew it had to go somewhere where it could be seen. It was roughly 2 years ago when Emil Spaeth found a unique treasure at a thrift store.
I have a friend of mine, he runs a store over in Noto, and he called me up and he said, hey, I have a print here that you might be interested in.
But this wasn't just any ordinary print.
It's actually a print of one of, I believe, 10 that are in the Activity Center basement at OLG.
The originals were painted by local artist Andy Valdivia. His paintings line the walls in Our Lady of Guadalupe's Activity Center.
I taught art for like 33, 34 years. So I've been painting since grade school. I went to grade school here. I even won an art contest. I won a picture of Christ.
So he says art is his way to give back.
This whole thing is under our history.
The print Spaeth found was taken from this mural. It's Valdivia's tribute to Hispanic history and Oakland.
I put so many families, groups of people. When anybody and everybody from this community comes here, they can look, and they already done this. And this is probably what kind of grabs my heart is that, oh, that's my grandfather, that's my dad, that's my brother, that's my great-grandfather.
Which is why he's poured thousands of hours into this mural. There's so much history to share, Spaeth felt the piece he found needed to be seen.
That's where it became like, well, what can I do with this? I can't put this in my room where nobody else can see this. I can't put this in my bar where nobody else can see this. It needs to be where people are going to see it all the time and appreciate it.
The plan was to raffle it off for scholarships to help students attending OLG. That didn't happen, so he donated it to LULAC last week. Now he's hoping someone else adopts that project.
I'm hoping that somebody takes on the ones for Andy Valdivia, and I'm hoping that somebody gets a hold of him and finishes this.
If I could help somebody else go to school, get a degree, and maybe just a little bit, but it's something, yeah. It would mean a heck of a lot. I'll sign it if they want it, because I'm very proud of that.
Andy's actively working on other mural projects around town right now because even with all the work he's already put in, he says that's not enough. He just wants to make sure he's showcasing as much of this community's history as possible. In Oakland, I'm Caroline Soro, Fox 43 News.
I'm Dan Kroll. Tomorrow morning on Fox 43 AM Live. We're joined by Jennifer LeClaire with the Boys and Girls Clubs of Topeka. Plus, we'll visit with our friends over at Child Care Aware of Eastern Kansas. Join us tomorrow morning at 9 on Fox 43 KTMJ.
Celebrating Hispanic heritage. Sponsored by these fine sponsor.
Good evening and thanks for joining us for Fox 43 News at 9. I'm Mackenzie Davis. We're going to start with some breaking news out of Topeka. Police presence is in the area of 22nd and Place in South Topeka. That's where Fox 43 News reporter Jacob Kaufman is at. Now, he's on scene while we still wait on word from officials on exactly what happened. So, Jacob, what do you know so far?
Yeah, thanks, Mackenzie. Like you said, in the area of 22nd and Place, and as of right now, the police presence is light, but there is yellow crime scene tape surrounding a house which appears to have had an unfortunate incident happen inside. At the moment, like I said, activity is light, but I've seen police walk in and out of the house where this incident occurred, as well officers taking pictures of the crime scene. Many neighbors are outside their homes as they too await word on what exactly happened inside. I talked to many of the surrounding neighbors, and they all tell me that the people who lived inside haven't lived there that long. Also, while I was here, multiple individuals have driven up to the scene, then started talking to police, and to seem then have broken down in tears. So clearly a lot of emotion going on in the area. That's all we know for right now, but when we do find out more information, we'll make sure to bring you the most up-to-date information. For now, working live in South Topeka, Jacob Kaufman, Fox 43 News.
27 News starts with breaking news.
Thanks for joining us for 27 News at 5. I'm David George. We do have breaking news to share. A grand jury has voted to indict former President Donald Trump. This information coming from NBC News just moments ago, and it's the first time that a current or former president has been criminally charged. The case focuses on allegations that he falsified his business records. He's accused of paying $130,000 as hush money to an adult film star. Stormy Daniels claims that she slept with Trump in 2006. Former President Trump denies the affair and classifies the expense as legal expenses. Welcome back to Fox 43 News. I'm David George. The search is on for a suspect behind the nation's latest mass shooting last night, Sheena Losciuto. Well, she's live at one of the scenes in Maine where a shooting took place just a little over 24 hours ago. Sheena, what's happening right now?
Well, you can see the road behind me is still blocked off. That road leads to the local bowling alley where those shots were first fired and that first 911 call came in. It is awfully eerie and quiet here in Lewiston tonight as that shelter in place remains as police continue searching for the killer. As a massive manhunt continues tonight, a major police presence in Bowdoin. Maine State Police confirm authorities are here to execute a search warrant. This is the man police are looking for, 40-year-old Robert Card. A warrant is out for his arrest. Card is accused of fatally shooting at least 18 people, injuring 13 in the city of Lewiston, Maine. Authorities say Card went into two businesses, first a local bowling alley, then a local pool bar armed. In a matter of minutes, sheer chaos, shattering Maine's second largest populated city.
My administration is behind law enforcement's efforts to capture the person of interest, Robert Card.
But why? The motive remains a mystery, as authorities emphasize the focus remains on tracking down the suspect. Police say there have been no reported sightings of him since the shootings. Police say the suspected shooter has a military background. As local authorities remain on high alert, U.S. Senator Susan Collins had this to say.
I'm grateful for the leadership of Lewiston Police Chief St. Pierre and for the bravery of the hundreds of state, local, and federal law enforcement officers who are leading the search for the killer.
And just to give you an idea of really the lockdown we're seeing here, gas stations are closed, so really the streets are basically empty. At last check, police say they are still working to identify 10 of the victims. Reporting live in Lewiston, Maine, I'm Sheena Losciuto.
Welcome back to Fox 43 News at 9. I'm Jacob Kaufman. Tonight, 4 Republican presidential hopefuls took the debate stage at the University of Alabama. The fourth debate was a fiery one, and we go live now to Washington correspondent Rashad Hudson, who was in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, following the debate.
Jacob, it was a fiery debate indeed, but tonight, center stage, the focus was on Nikki Haley and not former President Trump. The University of Alabama is home to battles on the football field, but tonight the battle was on stage in the News Nation CW Republican debate. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis and Vivek Ramaswamy came out swinging against former UN Ambassador Nikki Haley, who has been climbing in the polls. They attacked her recent endorsements from big money Wall Street donors.
They make money in China. They are not going to let her be tough on China, and she will cave to the donors.
Now you're a multimillionaire. That math does not add up. It adds up to the fact that you are corrupt.
They're just jealous. They wish that they were supporting them, but I'm not going to sit there and do that.
Missing again tonight was the GOP frontrunner. Chris Christie slammed former President Trump.
The fifth guy, who doesn't have the guts to show up and stand here.
And former President Trump not even acknowledging that the debate took place tonight, posting online that he has his sights set on President Biden. Jacob?
K-State's Marquise Noel is the talk of the college basketball world after his record-breaking performance last night sent K-State to the Elite Eight. 27 News Sports Director Glenn Kinley was in Madison Square Garden, and he saw that historic performance firsthand. He joins us live to talk about that Wildcat point guard. Glenn, what you got?
Mackenzie, from the outside looking in, Mr. New York City was nothing more than a social media handle for Marquise Noel until last night. An NCAA tournament record-breaking performance with 19 assists. Combine that with 20 points, and he's starting to feel more and more like Alex the Lion from the movie Madagascar. He's the king of New York. The papers here in the Big Apple say so. All sorts of talk led up to Noel's return home to New York City, and when the 5'8" point guard from Harlem, New York, got here in Madison Square Garden, he put on a show for the folks in the crowd. Let me tell you, he was good last night. The guy was locked in, and he did it on a bad ankle. After going down with an injury early in the second half, Noel locks it in, gets back on the court, and leads K-State to that Sweet 16 win. Nothing was going to keep him away from this one, and it's special, truly special to Marquise Noel.
It's amazing. I mean, it feels surreal just being from New York and seeing that, seeing your family and your friends, you know, buy it and send it to you. I mean, it's just nothing but, you know, amazing. And I've just been appreciating it and trying to enjoy every moment of it.
Now, as Marquise Noel sets records for assists in the big dance, I had to ask Coach Chang, what exactly is it that makes his All-American point guard such a good passer? In his answer came a comparison to two-time Super Bowl champ Patrick Mahomes.
It's his confidence. He has great vision, but he also has this confidence, kind of like Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers. They think they can like thread that ball through anywhere, and he really feels like he can get it there. So he has this great precision, this great confidence and vision that he was blessed with.
Great passers, of course, not the only similarities between Mahomes and Noel. They're also both apparently really good when playing in big games on just one ankle. We are back on ankle watch here for Marquise Noel. Great news. He says he's 85 to 90% is where he'd grade his health on his ankle. It's K-State and Florida Atlantic in less than 20 or in just about 24 hours here in the Big Apple tomorrow. If K-State can get a win, they'll have a trip to the Final Four, and you can probably expect Marquise Noel to be on the front page of the New York newspapers instead of the back page like he was today. A trip to Houston on the line for the Wildcats tomorrow. Working for you live in New York City, Glenn Kinley, 27 Sports.
Several Republicans have floated the idea whether it might be the case that Ukraine might have to consider ceding some territory to Russia. Well, President Zelensky is defiant.
Good afternoon. We're going to break away from this national press conference between the President of the United States and the President of Ukraine. And you'll likely get more with Nightly News and Lester Holt a bit later. But right now, I'm David George with 27 News Storm Track Chief Meteorologist Matt Miller. You mentioned clouds affecting today's weather. We certainly had that, but the cold air's got to be somewhere because it's not here.
Yeah, it's not. It's a little bit to the north, but even that, it's not substantially in place really anywhere around the region. It's just cold enough to our north that there's been some light snow over northeastern Nebraska from about Omaha northward. Generally, though, that has been very light, not amounting to too much, and it's certainly not even moving our way. Temperatures are across most of Kansas in the 40s with a lot of cloud cover. It's a lot of clouds still to move in. This system out to the west doesn't really show much signs of movement, so we stay mostly cloudy through the evening, through the night, and even into the day tomorrow. Like we saw today, we'll have periods of time where the sun will peek out. It's not just 100% clouds, but it's a lot of clouds, and we'll see that into the daytime tomorrow with kind of a stagnant weather pattern in place. Temperatures in the 30s to the north and a bit colder to our north, and that's been trying to move in. It's down to 43 right now at Manhattan, 46 Topeka, 49 at Emporia. You compare this to yesterday, obviously it's cooled down. And it feels a lot cooler when you tack on that cloud cover. And we talked about that. It wouldn't be a big drop in temperature, a modest drop, but it would feel a lot cooler because of that light breeze coming in out of the east right now, 5 to 15 miles per hour. You add in the clouds, the cool air, and it just takes on that cooler feel today. And that's what we're going to get into, a pattern that just kind of stays like that. Now, one main difference, so we did have a breeze today. That goes away tonight and stays even lighter into the daytime tomorrow. This is not going to be a windy week, but it will be a rather cloudy several-day stretch out ahead of us. We'll look at how long this system takes with the clouds kind of sitting over us. A look at that's coming up.